I can't help but think that intelligence is overrated. Um, and I don't say that in a patronizing way to people who maybe lack intelligence. It's an observation, you know. And again, this isn't trying to put myself on a pedestal in any way. We all know whether we're intelligent or not. Um, the problem is I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze. I literally drive myself crazy. Um, and because of the intelligence, I hold myself accountable to a high standard. Um, so what it just means is your morals and your caliber is just higher. So it just makes life harder. In some ways it makes it easier because you negate like low vibrational toxic tendencies and situations, which of course can get people in an awful lot of trouble. But when you lack intelligence, everything's just simple. You don't know any better. You don't have to think too much. And again, I'm not saying it in a patronizing way. I'm saying it in actually a lifestyle way. It's just life is simple. And I envy that sometimes. I truly do. I get fed up with my mind sometimes because it just drives me crazy. Like for instance, something triggered me earlier, and I just got emotional out of nowhere, and I felt sorry for myself, and that's just being transparent. My life is incredibly lonely a lot of the time. I don't have people that support me on my journey. I am my biggest cheerleader, and that's just how it's always been. So, yeah, it gets quite demoralizing because it's almost like like I say, you hold yourself accountable, but most people don't. So you don't align with those sort of people. So it's either like you either conform and stick with people who you maybe don't have anything in common with anymore, or you go your own way. So you go your own way, of course, it's sensible. It's about like elevating ourselves. But you will find, I think most people that go on that journey are very isolated and lonely, because it's hard to meet people who have similar core values. But of course, we see world in a different way to the majority. Um, s- so yeah, it just gets really frustrating. Yeah, I just wondered if anybody else has sort of similar issues, really, because I don't suppose I'm the only one. And like I say, I have high morals, so I sacrifice a lot, which people probably don't see. Um, I do what I do not to be front and center or seek attention. I do it because I know it's my path, it's my calling, it's what I need to be doing. Others will need it when the time is right. In the meantime, like, I suffer all the time. It's always hard. I'm always in poverty. There's always struggle. I look at what I do, and it's like there's no reason that I'm not successful from it. Like, and it's not, again, this isn't arrogance. It's just an awareness. It's like I've done enough to have. I should be able to sustain a living on what I've done. I've done so many videos, hundreds, if not thousands, of videos, and 6 books, 6 audio books, podcast episodes, and other stuff I've done aside from all that. And it's like, where's the breakthrough though? Like, where this doesn't make sense. It's all for nothing, then, isn't it? And it's like that's just sad. It is just sad though, isn't it? I spent a huge portion of my life here trying to contribute something to the world, and my life has just been absolutely horrendous the whole way through, and it literally has, and that's just acknowledging. Not at any stage when I've wrote my books has it been easy. There's always been poverty. There's always been trauma. There's always been like toxicity I'm having to overcome, and all these sort of things. And so where's the fairness in it? Where's the balance? So yeah, I just feel there's been a lot of sacrifice. That's what it is. I just feel like I've sacrificed a lot. No reward, apart from my own pride, and accomplishing something. So you get a lot of growth within that personal transformation. So there are obviously benefits, but when you talk about like financially and things like that, it's just as a consequence, my life has been incredibly hard. So I talk about like for some of the jobs I apply for, and then I look at and then I go over analyzing. Like I can't help but think I wish I just didn't have. I wish I didn't analyze so much. I just wish I was simple. And again, not in a condescending, patronizing way. It's just like again an awareness. It would be so easy. Like I'm a good communicator, so I'd hold up well in interviews and things. So once I get the opportunity to be interviewed, I tend to do quite well. Um, that's just how that is. So of course, then I overanalyze the roles, and I'll if there's anything wrong or something that puts me off, I'm like, I can go somewhere else. I'm just going to find I just want to find the right place. The reality is, though, the problem is these places may not exist. Um, so you'll find that someone else doesn't really have the intolerances that I have. So the opportunity I get, someone else would absolutely love to have, and it's like they would take the opportunity, and then they would be thriving while I'm still going through survival mode, and it's my own doing. I recognize that. That's my own doing, and sometimes I get fed up with myself because I look on and think, ah, damn, what about that role? And then I always remember the thing that was wrong with it. And I'm like, how could we couldn't? Because look at that role. That include. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, that. I remember every reason why I turn things down. And they're always things that I can't look past. For instance, one was £29,000 a year. That was literally only like a month or so ago. I was there. They were only hiring one person. Went through numerous stages of an interview, and I got offered the role. And in the end, I turned it down just because it was for me. It wasn't. It was like I think it was. I can't remember exactly the hours, but I'm pretty sure it was 7 in the morning till 5. And I just thought that's quite long. Like that in itself was quite long. I thought that was a bit unnecessary. If you're going to do that, then not like where I spoke recently about 4 on 4 off jobs, where they do 12-hour shifts. That's not far off, is it? If you've just done 7 o'clock instead of 6 and you finish at 5 instead of 6, you might as well just do the extra hour either side and do 4 on 4 off rather than work Monday to Friday. So that's that in itself. Then the role included the fact that they were upgrading the premises, for instance. So they were going to buy another building nearby, but that meant you had to effectively, to put it into context, they had a very small functioning warehouse side for storage and bringing goods in and all sorts. The rest of it was production because they made health products. So they were going to build. They wanted to get a quiet rather than go to a bigger premises, which is what the business needs. They were going to try the easier option for them, but not very in terms of like productivity and things, and just the processes, it didn't make sense. They were instead. This is the part where it's silly. They were going to get another warehouse, and then you was going to have to operate the forklift. Now, so some places work like this, but I don't like working like that. I think it's just so inefficient. It drives me nuts, and I don't like working for people that I just don't think have their heads screwed on. If it being transparent, like if you're leading, you should be more intelligent. If you should. It's levels, and I'm like, I can't do that. I can't be a subordinate to people when I can see the issues straight away. It's like this doesn't make sense. That's just I understand it's financial reasons, but this is making my job hard, and I don't really want to go to work being annoyed. Now I know you can say just look past it, the money, but this is me. I can't. So they were going to have another premises, and you was going to have to use the forklift to go from this building to that building, and then move between because the facility doesn't function properly. So the warehouse side wasn't even big enough anyway to do that. And the main part of the building was really just um, production, and then the other one was going to be an extension of the warehouse. It's just stupid. Like you think it should be just segregated and make sense. If you're expanding, just expand. Don't just start making little pieces everywhere, making it a mess. Anyway, so there was that side of things. It was all like they were going through a whole transition. They were going to be moving the racking and making it thinner, so it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. All sorts of processes. But anyway, it just in my head I was like, this is an absolute mess. Like it's a good paying job for the it weren't far, 15 minutes. And that one I sometimes flash back in my head and I'm thinking maybe I could have just took it. But I remember the things that were crap. Then I went to Caterpillar, which is a huge company, but it was the engine side of things, and that was through an agency role though. So I turned that other one down, which was a permanent role for this agency, and then I thought I'll try out this agency. Let's try that at Caterpillar because that should be a really good opportunity. I was tested on I know once, wasn't it? Yeah, once I had to do the forklift test there. So I've already got my forklift license. Then I had to do I had to be there it was there for like 3 hours because I had to have a physical as well, which is crazy. All for this agency role, mind you. We had to pass a forklift test. So, of course, by doing all those things, it's making you attached to the role because you're thinking, I've had to do all this to get here. I'm definitely going to be staying here. And they make, and they said not everybody passes. They actually found about 5 people apparently after my session because when we went back, we went to see the same guy, and he said he recently found 5 people. So not everybody got the roles. So you go through all these phases for the forklift, and then I get put on, and then the team leader, the manager, liked me, and he come up for shift for me. Like I was going to do 4 days. What was the 6 till 4, Monday to Thursday? I thought that's sweet. I'll do that. I was happy. I was made up for that. It wasn't the best money, but it's like that's good. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm happy with that. That's good. So bear in mind, forklift, the hours. This is okay. The pay isn't the best, but sometimes you've got to pick your battles. For me, the pay is never the biggest thing. But you want to be rewarded, of course. Um, so fast forward, you go through the induction. The induction was, which they didn't tell us all this nonsense, by the way. You was given safety boots, even though I had nice safety boots anyway. They're quite expensive. Well, at least they're nice. And you was had to wear their ones, and their ones were cheap. So they'd cause you blisters. They were uncomfortable. They were just absolute terrible. Their attitude was, if you don't like these, they have to be these ones, or you have to go. There's a store we use. You can go there and get some different ones. I thought, well, you're not even paying me a lot, and I'm not wasting my money on boots when I've got boots. So I said, can I wear my boots? And then they said where it was. I told them who I worked for previously, and they said, no, it has to be these. I just thought, this is crap. So that's already pissed me off, that in itself. And then there was like different sectors you could have worked. And some people go, someone's going there, I'm going here, someone else is going over there. And it depended on the work pattern you was doing. So because of the shift pattern I was offered, it put me on a specific area. And I was told immediately when I got over there that we've got 13 people who can operate the forklifts, but we only have 2 forklifts. So you won't be on the forklift very much. And I thought, okay, like I'm not here to be a pain. Like, what depends what the role is, I don't mind mixing it up. But it just seemed uncoordinated. Like it wasn't. I'm good at looking and analysing things, and I'm like, okay. So while he's talking to me about the engines, he's showing me the whole process from that station to that station to that station, the people doing it. I went with the whole way around. I thought that's interesting, but that's not my job. I'm only interested in what is my role going to be. Like, so while he's talking, I'm looking around and I'm understanding the sort of the coding and all sorts of things and where things are. So I'm pointing it out to him later. I said, well, you was talking about that. I'm trying to figure out the processes here. I said, a little bit ain't making sense. So some of it I'm getting my head around there, but some of it, it's not really it's not intuitive at all. And I just thought for such a big company, this is not the most intuitive place, like for people just to step into. And it was just getting a bit more complicated. I didn't like how confined it was. I just felt trapped. So those little things get on my nerves. It's like, I'm not really into production. I'm more interested in like distribution. So this was really in the thick of the production. And then it was like, we was told there'd be a cafe, and I've seen it. There's like literally a restaurant outside, but it's too far to go on your lunch break because you don't get as long as you think you're going to get. So our tea break room, again, it depends on where you're stationed. Because I was stationed there, this was our tea break room. So other people had like really nice ones, even with it being hot food being served to you. Ours was this bit that was boarded up on the production area. I was like, oh, this is crap. Like, this isn't good. I wasn't sold any of this shit. So far, everything's changed from what I was expecting. And then it was like, what do I do with my bag? Because I haven't got anywhere to put it. And they said, oh, just leave it on the chair. And I was like, well, when do we get lockers, though? They go, oh, there's no guarantee you'll ever get a locker because we haven't got enough. What? So there was no way. I left my bag there. I felt uncomfortable, but I thought, I'm not going back to doing all this shit. So I didn't take that role because of it was a mess. But I'm talking. This is what I'm saying. Like, some people can look past the things that bothered me. My mind can't. I just go crazy with shit. If I was put in somewhere else in the company, I might have done all right. But I didn't get the opportunity. I got put there where it triggered the shit out of me. And then recently, the 4 on 4 off, 6 till 6. I was thinking about. I got offered the role there. That was better pay. But it was an hour each way. And I was like, this is crazy. It's actually too much. It's costing me a lot in fuel. And I'm like 6 on, 6 off. I mean, 6 hours, 6 till 6. So that means, to leave at 5, I've got to get up at 4. And because you finish at 6, you don't get home till 7. So I was like, okay, 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. Wow. You still got to come home, cook dinner, and, try and chill out somehow. And you've maybe got a 2-hour window. That means you're going to have to be incredibly efficient and even have a shower or whatever you want to have. How the hell are you going to do that in 2 hours? Really, without being a mule. So although you get the 4 days off, that means the 4 days you go into work are brutal because you're going to have to go to bed by 9, surely. If you've got to be up for 4, I don't know how else you do it. So you've literally got less than 2 hours to unwind because you're going to have to fit a shower and you're going to have to food. And I don't think you've even got time for anything else. So even though you get a couple of extra days a week off compared to the other shit, like a normal 9 to 5 Monday to Friday sort of situation, I just thought that's unreal. That's a lot of sacrifice. And I just started thinking the 4 days you've got off, the first day off is going to be exhausted from the week of days you've just done. You're trying to recover your sleep and energy. So you're not really going to enjoy yourself the first day off. Then you're going to have the 2 days off, which is the equivalent to everybody else's weekend. And then the fourth day, the one where you think, oh, I've got 4 days off. I think that day you're just sitting there dreading the next day. So I'm like, this is just unbearable. I can't handle this shit. Do you know what I mean? So I'm turning opportunities down, but there's reason to all of them. But meanwhile, the pressure's building on me because it's like I'm starting to think: is there anything good out there? Is it all shit? Like literally, have you just got to pick one pile of shit and out of all of them, like something's got to give? You know, because we all need money, or at least desire money. But no, it's getting on my nerves now, and the stress levels are going through the roof on my side because I'm finding flaws with everything. You know, you could argue I'm nitpicking, but I just don't know how else I could have done any of these roles. You know. They've all got issues. You could argue I've got issues, but probably have. Um, yeah, and there was other issues with that. But the job, the D6 to 6 job, for instance, it was storage facilities, like in this yard. So the open yard was the main part, and then you've just got these smaller warehouses off the side where they just store things, um, so that you're exposed to the elements. Now, nice in the summer, but in the winter, think about the snow, the rain, all sorts of shit, and you're going to be out in the middle of that. And from my understanding, it not the most like the friendliest of environments. I think you can put up with it in normal environments. If you're there for 12 hours and you're literally 4 of the days, you're literally there like a mule. I think being in an environment that's not enjoyable, I think it'll just be a pain in the ass. So I was like, especially when you drove an hour to get there. And then there's the worry, like you might think it's nothing, but I think it's something. You shouldn't be driving tired. It's dangerous as hell. This was like more some slightly country roads as well, so it's a bit like, especially pitch black at night when it's winter. That's dodgy. I'm thinking, nah, your body's gonna be pushed to exhaustion. Your mind's gonna be like getting tired now, and you've still got to drive home for an hour, and then you've got to be cognizant the next day, especially if you're operating forklifts as well. So I just think it's pushing you too hard, that job, personally. But again, if I was of a simpler mindset, I wouldn't find any of these problems, would I? You would have just stopped at the first one and be making 29 grand a year and just be done with it. Maybe in hindsight, I should have done. I don't know. There's always a reason for everything, of course, but I'm driving myself mad at this point because I'm not happy with any of the options. Like I said in another video, though, I'd rather not have to do any of it anymore. It's not through laziness because I don't mind putting the work in. I just don't like working. I don't actually like working for people. I don't like conforming. I don't like being told what to do. And I spoke in the other video. It shouldn't be normalized anyway. Like, why should we be told what to do? A lot of the time, you get leaders, and I've had it my whole life, where people are managers, they're supervisors, they're team leaders. Half the time, they don't have a clue. They just bumbling their way through it, and they get egos, so they get like power trips. But you look on and think, I could do that. All I need is a little bit of training, a little bit of investment in me, and I could step into those roles, and I wouldn't treat people how they treat people. And I'd be more efficient as well because I'm always seeing things. But I have no interest in selling myself, so I don't like it. I can do a normal interview. I'm not interested in trying to set myself apart from other people. So I couldn't be bothered with any of that shit. Do a presentation or whatever the hell you got to do to try and impress someone. I don't do none of that. You either see the quality or you don't, and I'm not here to. I don't like trying to impress people. I just refuse. I'm strange like that again. In my mind. So yeah, if someone's differing and they're not sure who to choose, I'm always of the mindset, choose the other person. It's easier. Don't worry about it. I don't care. I just don't. I don't care about it. It comes across as a nonchalant and you actually don't care in general. It's not. I just have no interest in impressing anyone. So if I have to go out of my way to impress you, I don't want to. It's just, yeah. If it's if you're not sure, pick the other person, then you don't have to worry about it. Simpler. But again, like I say, my mind gets in my way, so it does make my life incredibly hard. And yeah, so like me doing the books and things has been an incredibly exhausting journey, like really exhausting. Even I don't realize it until certain moments that sort of break me. So I get emotional sometimes. I don't always get emotional, of course, but there's moments when I do get like something to trigger me, and I just, yeah, I feel sad. Um, like money's that bad sometimes, and I feel like a burden. I sometimes feel like a burden, like, you're not providing like everybody else is or something. And it's just I'm doing the best I can, you know. I'm trying to be supportive. I'm trying to do the books. I try to do the video. I do everything I can, and it's all for free. And I've always been selfless like that. Of course, the books aren't free. I have to make something money somewhere, um, and they actually have a cost attached to them in the first place with the print and whatnot. But I try to just help, so I put my time to use where I feel it can be of most use. But like I say, financially, it's always hard, and I see other people that just they have things, and it's like my life's always difficult. Again, it's all my own doing. I'm not here to try to be a martyr or anything. But I do sometimes look on and think if you never wrote the books, if you never put yourself in front of the camera, if you just got on and did what everybody else did, you'd probably have quite a bit of money now. You'd have your holidays. Life would be simpler. Doesn't make me regret or resent what I do or what I've done or what I continue to do. It just makes me miserable sometimes and really unhappy. Because I've had it all my whole life where people judge me. Now, again, if people know my journey, I couldn't really care. Deep down, I really don't care what people think. But there is a feeling of failure to myself sometimes. Um, yeah, if everything I did made money, it would just change out or the whole course of it all, wouldn't it? Because then it's validated that this is exactly what should have happened, and I am doing well. But at the moment, I think any success is just self-valued. It's the value I place on it and say, that's successful. I've done that. I can't believe I did that. But that's all it is. There's no tangible success from it. Not enough eyes watching, reading. So it's more of a hobby at this point, I guess. What's this going on now? I've got like noises. But that's what it feels like now, more than anything. It's more like a hobby. You've got to be a bit more realistic. And like I said there, maybe I'm being picky with the jobs, expecting something that's going to be sustainable because that's what it is. I don't want to waste other. It seems like I'm being flaky, and in some ways it is flaky. But I always think of other people too, and I know when I decline something, it sets them back. But I actually do it to be merciful, like someone could train me up, for instance, and I can get paid for the training. And you could go in my mind. I could already be thinking, I'm probably going to leave in a couple of weeks or a month. I'm going to apply for something, and I could that could get me by. And I know a lot of people would do it. I know a lot of people would do it. That way, you're never going without. So I could do that. They'll pay me for that. Then I'll leave and go there. So you're within your rights, I guess, to do so. But my standard, like, the way I hold myself accountable, I can't do it. So if I think I might end up, that's likely to happen, I would rather just tell them and disappoint them immediately or as soon as possible and just say, look, I'm not going to be able to do this, because then they can easily make a different decision on someone else, and then they can fill the role without it being a waste of their time. So I do it to be fair, but I know in the moment people are disappointed and people will judge me for it, and they'll think you this, they think that. That's fine. I don't care what people say behind my back. I honestly couldn't care less. People always talk, but there's a deeper reasons as to why I do things, and it's not always about me. Like I said, I don't like taking advantage of people. So yeah, my life is a heavy burden, and I just look at other people, like I said, and it's like I just can't help but think. Again, it's not to be patronising or anything. I just you recognise when someone doesn't have as much intelligence, and you just look how they flow through life. And yeah, someone that's really low vibrational, they'll go in and out of relationship, like toxic situations. They might get involved in situations they shouldn't, and all these things. But there's some people that don't get up to any mischief. They're not of that ilk. So they've got good enough morals. They're just not the most intelligent. But you'll find a lot of things don't phase them so much. They're happy just to exist and get on. And I just find that simplicity quite beautiful, to be totally honest. Like, to be able to do that and not think. Like, for me, in workplaces, if I start getting really, really bored, or if something gets tedious, or I find something's not efficient, and I feel like there's always like these little nagging things. It's like it'll start driving me nuts. So it'd be my mind's the worst thing that could go wrong. But it's annoying because if I could just be a robot, I can get on. Um, I know this one's been a bit rambly, but I hope that the whole point really is that I'm hoping by being transparent, people can connect to what I'm saying and reflect upon their own lives. So, like, if you're an intelligent person, it helps validate that you're not the only one who goes through this. If you go through anything similar, it also helps validate that it's okay if you wish that your life was simple too. All these little things, and also it shows. Hopefully, it shows people who maybe don't overthink. I don't want to call them any less than, because it's not. It's just the levels of thinking, intelligence, and things. If you don't overthink things and you look at people and think how the hell they figured that out, how smart they are, and all that, just just recognize you probably wouldn't want to step into their shoes, because it'll be an absolute nightmare. It's like torture all the time. So, although of course intelligence is a beautiful thing, sometimes it can be sort of our downfall at the other times. I think it just everything's a double edged sword, isn't it? Um, but yeah, I am sort of like ready for something to change. Hopefully, something changes, because at this rate, I'm just losing it. I'm up and down at the moment. I'm genuinely like losing interest, but then other days I feel passionate about it. So I'm like I'm all over the place at the moment. In all honesty, in my mind, like earlier on, I was like, I'm going to just work on the book. I need to get this book done. And then as the days progressing, I'm like, what's the point? There's no point. There's no one's reading the book. So what's the and it is a level of pity, self pity, but it's more the fact that I'm aware of the sacrifice I've done already. I've I'm tired of sacrificing. So even just something as simple as losing a bit of entertainment for it, it's like I don't want to lose anything anymore. I've lost enough. There'll be a moment when I do really put my heart into it again, and I'll feel passionate, because it'll go beyond all that. Once I let that all like mellow down, it'll be more about, why do you do it in the first place? I do it to help people, leave a legacy as well. Um, all these little things. So it's like, yeah, okay. And where does money come into that? It doesn't. So then why not just get it done then? Okay, I will. But at the moment, I just feel happy. I feel content enough that I have 6 books. I think that's what it is. If I didn't have the 6, then of course I would want it done. But as I reached 6, I was like, there's a good balance here. With Father's Daughter series, there's a Father's Daughter and a Heartbroken Daughter. So that's 2 books focused on parental alienation, um, trauma, family court, all those things, separation. That's what those 2 books are. So they're very personal. Then you've got Losing Mind to Find Your Soul, which is it's a spiritual book. And that'll help people who are going for spiritual awakening, anyone that's interested in spirituality, even if you're curious, all those things. It deals with all that, and I think it's really profound. It was an incredible like experience writing that book. And bear in mind, the next book I write in is the sequel to that one. And like when I use my tarot cards and things, Spirit always wants me to do it. They want the next one out. Apparently, it's going to be my big break. But I've always had signs in previously, and I've always felt that each of those books was going to be my big break. So it can't always be my big break, and I haven't had one. So I don't doubt the future, but I'm not too confident that me putting another 3 months of real hard graft, I'm talking about like hard graft, me putting a lot of effort in and burning myself out is really going to be rewarding at the end, because so far it never has. Of course, I'm proud and I get to read them back, but then I end up having to do the audiobook after. So the whole process that goes into that. Let's not deviate. So there's already a spiritual book, and I'm really proud of it. So that's why I'm not in a particular rush. I want people to read that. I don't want the new one to come out. Everyone reads that, and then no one gets to read this one. I want this one to be read. So I'm quite stubborn. And aside from that, I recognize within that book, if you take away the spiritual element, which is most of the book, um, there was a lot. There was like gold nuggets really of coping with life. But I recognized that it would alienate people who are not interested in the rest of it. It alienates. They don't get to hear it. So that's when I come up with Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul. I wanted to do a book that just focused on healing yourself and seeing life in a different way and elevating yourself. And of course, with something like that, there's topics. I literally, it was only ever supposed to be 1 book. So it's going to be 2 books on my personal trauma, 1 on spirituality, and then 1 on personal growth, transformation, help people, inspire them. That's where it was going. And then there was just more. So that's when I did Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. That was just to follow on for those extra chapters, really, like a whole nother book. from Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul. And then even by then, it was like, I've still got more chapters. So let's do Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul. That's where that's all come from. And now I've literally got already, just needs editing. So I've got 3 books like already done, but effectively they just need a real edit, like a deep edit. One's the spiritual book. Another one is the one following on from Find Your Peace, Save Your Soul. Says 4 on personal growth. So that'll be inspiring, hopefully, to people and it help them grow in their life. So we've got one on the spirituality, and I've also got one on society, which I'd already doing before Trump come into his second term as president. I was already getting annoyed with the way society is and it's governed and the world is governed. Um, so there's that one to be edited, but I'll probably add in new chapters now based on the current chaos around the world. So there's plenty to come in the future. But I do all this as a passion, you know. I do it because I want to help people, but I also expect my life to improve too, because this is an awful lot. It's an awful lot of sacrifice to still feel after worthless. Like that's how I feel sometimes. A lot of the time, actually. Like, I know I'm great at what I do. I don't want to get it twisted here. I know I'm great at what I do, and if I was given the platform, I can do great things. I've no doubt about it. I don't lack confidence in that regard. But my finances have just never ever been positive. It's my whole life has always been a struggle, and it's like it's heartbreaking, you know. It's like just never life's never easy, and it's like you try and do what I want to do, you try and do what I want to achieve in this life, and it's like you always got your hands tied behind your back. Like some of the books there, I would say let's say had I felt so inspired to do the books. I left jobs, so jobs that were stable enough and I was actually enjoying. I left sometimes to do the books because I got so fed up being there. I wanted to just get the books done. So effectively, I could do the books in 3 months, but if I stayed in the job, I'd probably take a year because the amount of free time you don't. When in what people don't realize this, and this is why I talk about like jobs so heavily and the free time work life balance. It takes your whole life up. If you've got all your spare time, you can throw yourself into projects. You know, so if you haven't got anywhere else to go, you can just wake up, focus, do it all the time. You can have days off here and there because we need to relax. Where do you work full time? You've only got a few hours each evening, so you really don't want to do it because you're exhausted from work and you're just preparing yourself ready for the next day. So you only really have the weekend, and a lot of time the weekend you're recovering from the week you've had, you're preparing for the following week. You don't have as much time as you think. So effectively, you're doing 2 jobs. You're doing a normal job, and then you're working on your projects. It's really hard to balance that. So there's no way you can expect to do it in the same time frame. It's impossible. So sometimes it was like I really just want to get these books done, and it matters more to me than my money. So anyway, I'm getting tired. Just getting tired of it now. Because you can only sacrifice so much, you know. It's like at some point, what you want a life. I see people go on holidays. I want to go on holiday. I didn't get one this year. I haven't had one this year. I'm still hopeful. There's still time after the summer holidays. As autumn comes, maybe I can go. Like, if you go abroad, it can still be warm. Not like that bothered now, but it's like I don't want to start going missing many years of holidays. And it's like again, I just don't feel I've been lazy. I feel like I've done enough where I should have a basic quality of life. Not asking to be like a freaking what do you call them? Oh, I don't know what you call them now. But anyway, just someone wealthy. I was thinking more like not like a king, but I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. Um, yeah, I'm not asking for that level of wealth. It's just enough to be able to pay your bills, treat yourself to have nice things, have a few little luxuries, and have a holiday and things like that. Never worry so much. And then that would be like free me up. I could do so many more books, throw myself into projects, invest into better setups and all sorts of things, you know. So that's, you know, I have goals in that sense. But at the same time, a part of me just says, what's the point? Like, I have little money and I still invest. You know, £100 camera because my camera wasn't very good. So I upgraded, hoping it was better. And it's 10 times better than it was before. So that's incredible. £180 microphone, £100 mic arm because it's got more length to this one. A lot of people use this podcast. I always thought it's going to be a waste of money. I'll keep my cheap £20 one. It's fine, but it only ever went to about here. It didn't. There was no flexibility, so I couldn't get the best range on it. So like an investment, you've got it for long term. So although it's a lot of money, you get it. You know, then you've got audio interface. Then you've got the screens. You've got green screen behind me. I've spent money and I haven't had anything in return for it. So it's been a cesspool of shit. If you talk about when we talk about profit, this has just been like throwing money down the drain. Now, people might see this in the future. Maybe there'll be thousands of views and things pick up, and people think, like, what's he talking about? It's like at this present moment, 5 years into my spiritual journey, I started in 2020. So that's really when I had my big breakthrough. My first book, A Father's Daughter, released in 2019, which means I was writing it in 2018. But either way, Family Court was 2017 to 2018. So since 2017, when my life went disarray, even before that, it was shit. You know, I was with my ex partner now, my now ex partner, for 8 years. So we had a daughter in 2010. Even throughout all that, it was chaos. There's a lot of mental health problems they were dealing with, and I had to help them with. And our life was chaotic, still always financially impoverished. So then 2017 hits. It runs off with my daughter. I have to go through family court. It's absolute chaos, and and it ripped my heart out, like literally. Now I know some fathers are not really, they don't bother, but there'll be some that are like me, and it's your world, you know. I took it very serious. I document it in my books, but I've been through my hell all the way through life. I haven't had it easy. Um, And then, like I say, the first book comes out 2019, and since then, every year a book. 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Of course, we expect another one this year. So I've been doing it all the time. I mean, it's been sacrifice, 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 and it's been sustained sacrifice. Like I said, even financially, I'm investing. Invest time, I invest resources. It's just crazy. And like I said, somewhere in the future, maybe they'll look on and think, "But what's he moaning about?" Because he's successful now. You can't guarantee success. At this point in time, I'm like struggling like crazy. I wouldn't say I'm throwing in the towel, giving up. But I'm slowing down. That's the reality. I'm just slowing down. For the I would say for the time being, but you don't know. It could slow down even heavier, couldn't it? Because you know we've got to be realistic to an extent. And I can only do so many videos. And I can only do so many books. It's like you're not seeing anything. So maybe you've got to invest time somewhere else. Because sometimes you've got to be smart enough to say this isn't working anymore. Now, I don't think that's the case because I'm always like looking towards the future. But I think sometimes I look to the future too much at the detriment of my present. So, like for instance, although I can struggle in adversity, it doesn't mean those closest to me can, and it's not fair pressure to put on them um, because I feel righteous in some way, or I feel this is a priority, or I feel I need to get that done, and you get that done. You've got to be balanced. Um, anyway, intelligence just causes you to overthink, you know, and you compound your misery permanently. Because you can't just not be intelligent once you're intelligent. You know, it's just the way you see the world. Yeah. So I wouldn't say wouldn't say being intelligent is a blessing. It's sometimes more of a curse.